you can either you can either take the approach which is, you know, trial and error, and to be honest, you know, that when I reflect on my own coaching journey, and I reflect on how well or otherwise that I performed as a coach, particularly in the early days, the reality is that you're not going to get it right every time. I think I think that's the first thing to say. But you can develop your skills, and it's why we are so passionate about the differentiation that we bring from, and why Franchology was created. It was to actually help, either to help those who are in the privileged position of helping others. So whether that's franchise support team members, franchise or leadership teams, franchise owners. These skills can be learned. That goes to the heart of it. Whilst I've personally learned the hard way through trial and error, actually the systems, the systemization, the process, the qualifications that we have created together, these things can be avoided. So anybody who's interested in how they might be able to develop their own coaching skills, we can certainly help with that. But I guess part of that process is about practice, and not necessarily practicing with a end user coachee client. And if I put it in those terms, you need to have the ability to be able to practice what you are learning in a safe space as a coach. And I mean, one of the things, I mean, Jeanette didn't allude to this, but Jeanette, you know, prior to working with me and the team at Franchology, Jeanette spent 20 years as Director of Accreditation for the Association for Coaching. Now runs her own coaching association called the Universal Coaching Alliance. And as part of that, one of the huge benefits that Jeanette brings to coachees is the ability to create safe spaces where coaches can practice, but also where coaches can bring challenges in a confidential space to supervision. This is, I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm knocking other people, but this is what professional coaching looks like and feels like and is like. But not everybody has been exposed to that.
Sounds like the growth mindset as well, rather than the fixed mindset of I am a good coach, I'm not a good coach, I am empathetic, I'm not empathetic. It's like, well, maybe you're on a curve and maybe you need the safe space and the environment and the support.
Agreed.
Most definitely. And it's lovely, I think, for our clients as well. You know, we're humans, we're vulnerable, we don't get it right every time. And to be able to be confident enough in your own skills and ability to say, actually, that was the wrong question that I asked you there. Let me backtrack and ask you the question that I meant to ask you. Or to challenge the client to say, what's the question you don't want me to ask you right now, because very often that will uncover exactly what the challenge is and what the limiting factor or self-limiting belief is on behalf of the client. So there are ways of doing it. But for me, Graham's absolutely right. You know, we're a profession, you know, at the moment we're unregulated. So why wouldn't we raise the bar and make sure that we engage in regular supervision and that we're constantly sharpening our own saw and, you know, getting better at what we're doing? I think it's really, really crucial to what we're doing.
Would you start with yourself as the franchise network owner, or would you start with your franchise support teams? It sounds to me like these are values that could maybe filter down from the top.
Yeah, Definitely. I think that there is, as with all things, I think, the leadership within the franchisor's business is crucial. There is no point in thinking about coaching with compassion unless you are really serious about the difference that you want to make. And that fundamentally, for me, links back to purpose. Having a really clear sense of purpose, not just from the business perspective, albeit that is crucial, but also just from a personal franchise or leadership perspective. We need to be looking at this and thinking about, coming back to how can we ensure that the people, the franchise partners who have entrusted us, perhaps with their life savings, if they've entrusted us with everything, how can we ensure that we are delivering the right level of service back from a coaching perspective? And again, just to differentiate here, of course, I think, Jeanette, I've heard you say this many times. As an example, if someone's never driven a car before, you can't coach them to drive a car.
Yeah.
You need to teach them how to drive the car in the first place. But what you can do is, once they've got those basic skills, then you can coach them to become a better driver.
Most definitely. And I think that's where lots of people are still confused about the differences between training, coaching, mentoring, consultancy. And it's so important to know that coaching is a different, very, very different space. And I think the Coaching with Compassion framework is a very good framework to actually base that around, so that people have a clear understanding of what's the intervention that's being implemented here and how that does differ from all of the others that are out there.